studying today, this Shabbat. I will need to say Shabbat Shalom to all of you, those who are going to sing. This Shabbat is basically the ending of the part of Kedoshim, of the sanctification of the book of Vayikra or Leviticus. Ending with this, we started from chapter 18, 19, if you remember, about being 19 to be holy because God is holy. You know, you shall be holy because God is holy. And all these portions is telling us about this separation of being part of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and to be part of his community. We are going to end it in this parasha. He is telling Moses that what he announced in Har Sinai, in the mountain of Sinai. And why he is going to say that when already we know that he was telling at the beginning of the book of Leviticus, Vayikra, that he said that God will talk to Moshe Rabbeinu from the tent of meeting, you know? But why he needs to announce that is from Har Sinai? Well, I want to tell you something that I have been trying to explain and trying to describe many times in many words. The Torah is not something to be literal, but to learn about the meaning and the message, the principles, and what is God trying and intended to teach us. And many times we miss points because we read too fast that we cannot understand what he's saying. And we are only obsessed about how to make 3 steps instead of how to walk the walk. And I am very saddened sometimes by our own people that we make it more important to the rules and regulations that we have made up ourselves than to try to listen what our God speaks to us every day through Har Sinai. Because when he revealed in Har Sinai, you need to understand this. Not only that people say that we will obey and we will do and obey, that's how they say, and so we are going to listen to what you are doing, saying, but at the same time, he said that this will be not only for you, for all the generations that are going to follow you. It's very clear. This is not only for us at the moment, but for all our generations. I have been explaining to you for a long time, and last week, when we started about the idea and more about who is a Jew, if you remember. And the question that many of the Goyim, the king, righteous Gentiles asked me, who am I? What is my situation with Israel? And I was explaining to them from the beginning that Abraham Avinu, from the beginning, he had a people, and no of them were born from him on Sarah. Even his first son that he had was not born of Sarah, was born of Hagar, the servant from Egypt. That already there has a lot of meanings that we can explore later on. But the idea here was that in Bereshit, in Genesis chapter 17, God ordered to Avinu, Abraham, the idea of the Brit Milah, to make a covenant with him. But it's not interesting that the covenant that he does is not, is there with him, with only Abraham. Why was he the only one that did the Brit Milah? The Brit Milah was for all his people, all his servants, all those who were with him, including Ishmael. Then already, we need to understand that God is a universal God. And it's not a God of only a little group, but it's a God of everyone. The next step, we see that Isaac inherited his father's, and he continued the same idea. Then Jacob Isaac and Jacob, they follow his fathers, and it's Jacob who inherited all the servants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He continued that line. Then you're going to see that even there were 12 children, 12 boys, and we do not know how many girls. We only know about one, and there is a discussion about the other one. But the truth of the matter was that maybe they had more than one girl, you know, and there were many there. But the one thing we know is that besides the 70 that went to Egypt, there was a multitude, a Ebra. There was also a group of people before the exodus, before the exit of Mizraim. And these people were considered part of the Mishpahat of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they were not, per se, Israelites by blood, but they were Israelites by calling, by the relationship that they have with them. That always has existed, always. And we are going to see here over and over in the scriptures about the idea of the Gerim, the Ger, the one, the proselyte, the one that joins to Israel voluntarily and becomes part of Israel. You know, lately there have been groups in the rabbinical Judaism, like the Chabad, for example. There has been admitting Gentiles in the group, and they have been intermarriage with Jewish people. Why? Because this is the idea about the Mashiach. There is everybody's integrated, and we are going to be not only light to Israel, we need to be light to the world. This continue, these ideas over and over, but we are responsible to be light not only to us, but we need to be light to the world. One of the greatest mistakes today for rabbinical Judaism is that they have isolated themselves and they have become almost a class by itself. They are exclusivists, and they have closed their arms, and to anybody outsider they are throwing them out. You know what is the opposite? Not only that, but they are teaching that only the Israelites are under the Torah, and the rest of the people, they don't need to keep the Torah. No? And then other religions has accepted the same line, and they have said, you know, yes, only for the Jewish people is the Torah, or they are under the law, and we are not any longer under the law. We are free to do whatever we want to do. Well, you are going to see in this parasha that our God creator, He is always careful to give us guidance, but at the same time, He gives us also a free will to keep going. He is not a God of robots. He's a God of the human being. He made us in His likeness and image. He gave us understanding. He gave us will. He gave us the desire to do right, and also to fight against what is wrong. After this parasha is coming the ending of this book that supposedly took only 2 months to be written. And this book, the last chapter, chapter 26, beginning from verse 3, you are going to see that is the brachot ulkalelot, or bekalelot. There is the blessings and curses. And you're going to see how, after all that our Creator has told us how we need to live, He's going to mention to us the consequences about disobeying. If we are honest with ourselves, and we look at the Israel today, we are going to realize that from the top to the bottom, all of us we have failed. No, there is no one that is right. No one. You go back to Yeshayahu Hanavi, the prophet Isaiah, and you are going to see in chapter 52:13 to the end of chapter 53 about what they call it, the beautiful song, the beautiful description about the suffering servant. And you're going to see that it's not like our modern rabbis say is Israel. But it's talking specifically and exclusively about our Mashiach, the suffering servant. And we are going to see that he is the one that's going to come to bring us back, to heal our nation, to heal our humanity, to heal our people. And we are going to see how this is going to happen, because God already prophesied, already told us about this. In this parasha, at the ending, because he's talking from Mount Sinai, what he's saying is every word that God has spoken has already told us to Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu now is teaching to his people what he received. Even that was not discussed from the beginning in the book of Shemot, in the book of Exodus, already he has received those teachings, and now he's developing those teachings. Also, he's going to teach us that this is not as many people interested in us. Many modern Israelis and Jewish theologians, you can call it like that, or scholars, they have this hypothesis that really the Torah, it is not a divine book, but it's a book that was written by very smart people. You know, this is the wisdom of a nation. And basically, they don't even give too much credit all to Moshe Rabbeinu. You know, they say the people were writing this little by little, and they were accumulating that wisdom together. Well, they can say whatever they want to say, and sometimes there's the idea to discredit the revelation of God. And we need to understand that those words that has come from our Almighty cannot be human wisdom, are beyond human wisdom. For example, he gave us an example. You know, in this chapter 25, when we're going to talk about two ideas basically, the Shemitah and the Yobel. In the Shemitah and the Yobel, he said that it's going to be the 6 years. God is going to bless us to the point that he's going to allow us for 3 years abundance, and that we won't need to be afraid what we are going to eat or what we are going to do. This cannot come from a man. Doesn't matter how amazing, intelligent men are, they cannot promise something like that. Only God can do that. Blessed be his name. And this is what is so important to understand, that these words are full of the divine encouragement and revelation. Now, saying this, today, I want that you look at this way, trying to see as the principle of that God teaches about in many ways, sometimes in paradoxical way. What do I mean paradox? A paradox saying the two truths are incongruent with each other, or like a two truths they deny to each other to make a point. For example, Yeshua used to say, I'm Messiah, in order to live we need to die. You know? Who wants to follow me, take his own penance of his own death and go with me. You know, this is the way that, how are you going to follow somebody if I am dead? What he's not talking about in the literal way, but he's talking about is self-denial and to start something in learning to trust. There is a word that I mentioned to you before in the Hebrew language, bitachon, but it really means trust. And here we are going to learn about trust. You see, emunah, the word that all of us we talk and everybody say, oh, you need to have faith. Or faith of what? You know, faith in God. Okay, who give you faith? And everybody say, in my faith. I build my faith. You know, even Abraham Avinu, it's very clear that his faith was given by God. Blessed be his name. No, was not an acquired faith. I have faith, but God gave him that faith in order for him to be able to believe. But that faith needed to become a reality. And the only way that that faith can become a reality is when we trust. That means from emunah to bitachon, there is a big step. It's the same idea. Do you remember when I talk about teshuvah, coming back to God? You know, in coming back to God, teshuvah is not only saying, oh, I'm sorry, or to say, you know, I did something wrong. No, teshuvah, what it means is go to the process of acknowledging, first of all, something that is wrong. Secondly, admit it and confess it. And third is to make it right. The contrition to come back to Him. And then we return to God. This is a process. It's not only one thing. How many persons say, sorry, but sorry means nothing. It's something that you need to do something about. You need to change your way of doing things. Well, here is what we are going to see this paradox. Because God is going to ask you something that looks like it's opposite to what He's asking you to do. Let me tell you this. Begin with Shemitah. The word Shemitah, what it means to rest, to let it go, basically, that's the idea. Has to do with the letting the land to rest, to have what I would call it, the sabbatical year. But in the Shemitah too, is mentioned about that all the debts are forgiven. Not like a Joel, but in the sense that every 7 years you go free. You know? By the way, in the system of God, you didn't need to go bankruptcy. Because after the 7th year, after the 6th year, all your debts were eliminated and you had the opportunity to start again. And that was a lot of freedom for people. And the Jobel was the freedom of freedoms. Because not only the land returned to you, everything returned to the owner, but even though those who sold themselves as slaves and they perforated the ears to be part of the slave, they also were given freedom even if they didn't want it. Why? Because God was the owner of Israel. Because when Israel was a slave, God redeemed Israel. And the land doesn't belong to Israel, the land belongs to God. These are points that are very important to understand. In order to understand this process of the Shemitah and the Jobel. The word Jobel, interestingly enough, etymologically speaking, they say that means ram, some people, and others say that means horn, okay, the word Jobel, and others means renewal, all depending how you equate this word, because it's related with the blowing of the horn, the teruah, the Yom Kippurim. Then Jobel, another word, like a Shemitah, that means to let it go. Now Jobel means let it go too, renew, to be again free. And this is important, the word free. The word free that is used here in the Hebrew language is dror. And interestingly enough, this word has more than the idea of not only about freedom from a prison or anything like that, freedom from yourself. How many of us, we are limited because of our own nation? How many of us, we are slaves of our own nation? A good example to give you is a drug addict. A drug addict is a slave of his own nation, of her own nation. Why? Because it's hooked to a drug, and they think that they cannot live without drug. That drug takes over their will, and that drug decides for them. God will give you the freedom. Only God can liberate you from that. As I know many people who say to me, I used to be a smoker and I left the cigarette and I don't smoke anymore. But then you ask, you left the cigarette and what you got instead of. Many of us, what we do is a trade. We trade. As a psychologist, in psychology, you are going to see that when you are obsessive, you have an obsession, OCD. Most of the psychologists, they say, you cannot cure obsession. The only thing that you can do is to change the obsession for something better. You are obsessive, the only way that I'm going to cure you, I cannot cure you, but what I do is, I'm going to change the obsession A for the obsession B that may be better. Well, I want to tell you, the only one that's going to cure you completely is our Creator. And this is what He's offering you, is the change. In order to have that change, you need to have faith. And faith that needs to become trust. This is the process. How do you obtain faith? Because He gave it to you. And how do you get to trust? When you make that faith work. Looks like very simple, but it's not that simple. Sorry to tell you, it's not that simple. Okay? If it was that simple, I will be already a Nobel Prize. No? And I will tell everybody that's the only thing that I need to do. I will be the best doctor in the world without being a doctor. Because I can cure everyone. But this is the process for all of us, and it's given to us. Now, let's now go a little deeper of only the surface of these principles about Shemitah and Yovel. Shemitah, by the way, is the sabbatical year, the 7th year that we let the land rest. But not only the land, but all our debts and everything else are gone. And the Yovel is the cycle of 7 years. 49 years, the 50 is the Yovel. And this is the ending of everything and a new beginning, completely a new beginning. Okay? During the Shemitah, you lose the ownership of your property only for a year. During Yovel, you lose it forever. It's not any longer yours. Okay? Revert to the first owner. Now, but what God is trying to teach us with this? You work the land, and you are working very hard. Every time that somebody is obligated to give his land because he goes through a very difficult financial situation, God always gives the opportunity to this person to recuperate, or to his family to recover the land, to redeem the land. Always this idea of redemption is in the Torah, to buy you back. God bought us back. He is our Redeemer. And buying us back, this is the price that He paid. And paying that price, we belong to Him now. And belonging to Him, now we are His servants. Not His slaves, His servants. Because in Judaism, the Jewish servants were never slaves. Even though they wanted to be, they were never slaves because they needed to be treated like a hired hand. They were employed, in other words, they were employees. They needed to be treated rightfully. You work for 6 years. And the 7th year, God said to you, stop, don't touch the land anymore, give a rest, because from that year, you cannot touch it, you cannot harvest, You cannot do anything with it, and you need to let it grow by itself. And whatever grows there is for everybody. Why? Because now I am the owner. It's for you, your family, for the Toshav, for the sojourner, and for the girl, for the poor and for the others. It's for everyone, for the animals, for everyone. It's not only for you. You do not have the right over the land, but you have the responsibility that everybody use the land. Look at the opposite thing. Not only I am taking away from you the right, but I am making you responsible that everybody take it. That sounds very difficult. Why? Because all of us, without exception, we are very possessive of our own things. You know, we are controlling with our own things. It's mine. You know, if I give you a little bit, but it's mine. This time is not yours, and you need to be sure that everybody take it. And you start scratching your head, you know. But how am I going to give you? I don't have anything for me. What is God teaching you? And whom do you trust? And this is a very good question now that we need to make ourselves. In whom do we trust? Do we trust in God? Do we trust in the government? Do we trust in ourselves? I trust my friends. I trust my community. Who do I trust? And you're going to see, and you're going to be surprised that all of those that you trust besides God, sooner or later, they are going to be against you. Even in your own family. Why? Because we become selfish. Why? Because we can that nature of controlling and being only for ourselves. We need to be in the process of learning and trusting in God. Because when you really trust in Him, you don't need to worry about tomorrow. Because everything brings by itself. It's not interesting that our Messiah Yeshua, in the Sermon on the Mount, when he was trying to teach you about trusting in God, he said, have you seen the sparrows? They do not plant, they do not do anything, but they're happy all day. Pew, 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 pew. And they go, they eat, and they're happy. They do not worry about anything. Because who provides for them? It's God. It's God can take care of these little birds. May I ask you this simple question? That's our Messiah Yeshua cannot take care of you. But what happened with us at that moment? I trust what I have in my pocket, and I trust in what I have been able to keep. That's what I trust. And then when you realize that your pockets are empty and you don't have too much, you start shaking. I am number one to tell you that I have committed a sin. Say, you don't need to worry, I am not talking about any of you, I am talking about me. When I have gone through situations when I say I am losing my income, I panic. You don't have any idea how I panic. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't say anything. And then I asked myself, what is my trust in God? You know, it's very easy to talk, but it's very difficult to do it. And when we talk about it, when we confess it, we have the opportunity to redo it. What is a paradox here? Because the paradox that God is teaching us is that you need to work, but at the same time you need to trust me that I want to give you the results. look at this. You need to work, but the result depends on me, not on you. How many of us, we have been, remember I say us, I am getting myself, okay? I am very careful to say this because some will say, you're talking about me. How many of us, we have not taken the step to do something because of the fear that we are going to fail? And then we say, well, was not going to work anyway. This is not for me. How many of us, we would like to start a business that is already prosperous? Okay? And we do not want to invest anything in it. Only we invest if we are sure we win. There are people who say to me, I don't believe in lotteries, and they are the greatest investors in the market. What is the market, a lottery? Oh no, I am wise, I do this and I do that. Yeah. That's wishful thinking, because sooner or later, the market can collapse. You don't know. You think it will go up, but it's only trusting, no? But who you're trusting, really? You need to trust in God, that God will prosper you. And God, if you put God first, everything will be added unto you. That's the idea. That's what the Messiah Yeshua started telling us in the Sermon on the Mount. Over and over again. It's no coincidence that when he started his ministry, you can go to the Habesurah Lukan, that is the Gospel of Luke, in chapter 4, when he goes to Nazareth, the city, and the synagogue there. And everybody thinks it was at the time of Yom Kippur, by the way. It's interesting that he started his ministry, you know. The book that he read for the half Torah at that time was Yeshayahu, chapter 61, verses 1 and 2, what he read, you know. And he said, he talked about the Yobel, just about what we are talking about. And he said, this has been already become a reality. Why he said this has become a reality? Why he said this has been fulfilled? You know, let's leave all the theological ideas, and let's put it in the reality of what he was talking to the people. He was saying, the Mashiach has come, and the Mashiach is bringing you back to Torah. And bringing you back to Torah, you need to come back to trust in God. And trusting in God, God is going to do the rest, going to free you from your slavery, from your own slavery. Do you know that you and I, we are slaves of ourselves, a slave of the system, a slave of our own fears? All of us. And we need to get free of it. How many of us, we are afraid about what other people are going to say? How many of us are afraid of what my family or my community or whatever they're going to say about me? How many? I have gone through that, and I know how difficult it is. And takes a lot of prayer, and takes a lot of courage. Why? Because people are ready to judge and to put you down. But who is the one that holds our freedom? Who is the one that sustains us? We give more power to men than to God. All of us, we give more power to a system than to give a power to God that He is our Creator. This is the paradox today. Because for us, it's almost impossible to be free. The only way that we can be trust in God. Then there is something wrong in our trusting. Because we are still walking with a lot of fear and trembling, but not to the Creator, but to humans. Yeshua said, don't be afraid, the one that can take your life here. Be afraid, the one that can take your life forever. But when we talk, what do we do? I am a great talker, they say. You know, what do I do? And this is the process about belonging to God. This is the ending of Kiddushim. Kiddushim means to be separated by God and to belong to Him. And what it means is to be totally His. And when you are totally His, you don't need to worry about the rest. This is the reason that we are talking about this paradox. Because only works, truly works, when you trust Him. But if you are hesitant and you do not know what to do, everything you are going to revert to the old ways. And we are go back to the old ways. Okay? Changes only can come from above. You can have the strong will, you can be a strong person, you can say, I will never do it again. And I can assure you that you are going to go back. Why? Because you are doing in your own human nature. And the true steps of changes only can come from above. This is to be true Kedoshim, true transformed by God. Let me read to you from the Sermon on the Mount, in chapter 5 of the book of Matthew. Let me find it. Okay, we found it. Chapter 6, verse 25 and following. The book of Matthew. He said, this is why I am telling you not to worry about your life and what you are to eat, not about your body and what you are going to wear. Surely life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Look at the birds in the skies. They do not sow or reap or gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not worth much more than they are? Can any of you, however much you worry, add one single cubit to your span of life? And why worry about clothing? Think of the flowers growing in the field. They never have to work or spin. Yet, I assure you that no, even the Shlomo in all the royal robes was clothed like one of these. Now, if that is how our Creator clothes the wild flowers growing in the field, which are there today and thrown into the furnace tomorrow, will He not much more look after you? You who have so little faith, so do not worry, do not say, what are we going to eat? What are we going to drink? What are we going to wear? It's the Gentiles who set their hearts in all those things. Your heavenly Father knows that you need them. All set your hearts of His kingdom first, and the good saying of justice and all of these other things will be given to you. Do not worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of himself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Seek the kingdom of heaven first. Now, when he says seek the kingdom of heaven, and he used the word Gentile, here the translation says Gentiles, what he's saying is the foreigners that are not part of Israel, by the way, okay? And he's talking about those people that have not received the revelation of Mount Sinai, Har Sinai, and he's talking also about the Malchutot, okay? They seek the kingdom of heaven. Malchutot Hashamayim, it is a euphemistic way of saying seek God first, and everything will be added unto you. This is the idea. It's interesting that all these years, especially these last 8 years, and now even more the last 2 years, I have been trying to teach you about to go back to God, not to go back to religion. To go back to God, not to go back to institutions. To go back to God, not to go back to somebody who is going to tell you what to do. But we are the only ones that has the capability to have a direct relationship with Him. You have the capability to talk to Him directly, and He listens to you. You don't need an intermediary. You can go to Him. And the problem here is that we have been learned, we have been, what we call it, we have been predicted or brainwashed, or we have been told that we need somebody else to take us to God. We can go by ourselves. All of us, we are His children. If you are His child, will you go to your father and you want to say to your mother, Mama, please tell my father I need to talk to him? Can you not go directly to your father? Or you need to go to your father and you go to your friend and say, you please, can you tell my father that I need to talk to him? That's what many people teach you. And now, what much more our Heavenly Father? How many of us we think in that way? May I ask you? How many? I need that you understand this. It is important to me that you understand me. We are not playing here games. We are not trying to teach others that we are better than others. I am not trying to teach you that we are the only one that we have the truth and nobody else has the truth. Totally the contrary. We need to start becoming humble ourselves before God. This is what is important. We need to start at home with me. I am the first one that I need to start that change. I cannot tell other people about changes when I myself, I cannot do it. It's very easy to speak in a very, what I call idealistic way. But the truth of the matter, we need to start talking in a very practical way. We need to be pragmatic. We need to be clear in our relationship with God. We need to walk the walk. This is what God wants us. I hear so many people telling me how wonderful it is this. And then I see their life. And then I realize that it's not as wonderful as they say that it is. It's only an illusion. I prefer to go through my own problems and going through the walls than to try to see an illusion, a mirage. I don't need mirage in my relationship with God. I need a reality. I need every day I need to walk with Him. It's a process of learning to trust Him. And it's not easy. When somebody says to you, oh, it's the easiest thing, the only thing that you need to do is to abandon to Him. Yeah? They really don't know what it means to suffer. They don't know what it means to really have your own struggles. I pray that we're trying to be free because He freed us. Not because I want to say, I want to be free. When you say, I want to be free, you already condemn yourself. Because it is not you who frees you. It's God who frees you. You know, you can have the greatest and the strongest will in the world, but you are going to be always controlled by your own humanity. You need to get out of that humanity, and the only one that can get you out of that is God Himself. I am not trying to tell you to be mystical or to be spurious or, you know, ethereal. I am not trying to tell you that you need to fly away from you. No, but I am telling you that every day is a practical way. You need to be pragmatist. Yeshua is telling them in these passages to the men, if God can do this for these things, can He do more from you? The question is, do I believe it? And do I trust God to do it? Now, here is very important. Let me go here, maybe an excursion, but I want to tell you. When I was a professor in the university, I had a friend of mine who was, at that time, he was an evangelical, I remember, and I was just learning about what he believed and things like this. One day he said to me, because I was teaching the course of thermodynamics, and he said to me, I need to pray very strong to God to pass this test. You know, at that time, I didn't believe only in my shadow, and then to me it was kind of funny that this young man said to me, I need to pray very hard to pass this test. And in my head was, what God has, even if I don't believe in God, but what God has to do with helping this guy to pass the test? You know? And I was, in my own ignorance and my disbelief, I said to him, instead to pray, study. Believe me or not, I was right. Even that, at that time I didn't have faith in God. I was right. Because God would say, you're right. I want to bless you, but you do the work. No, because I pray. Like I went with this friend who said, pray for me. Because I am looking for a wife. And we got in this closet, because that's my idea about these people, to get in the dark closet, but this not. And they put in their knees. And I remember with my friend praying for God to send him a wife. And I was looking to him, maybe he would send in that moment. You know? And then I asked him the simple question, because you see, my problem is still today. My simple question was, let me ask you this question. Why you don't look for a girl? You know, why is so difficult? You know, you want to get married, look for a girl. You know, it's so simple. You can ask God to guide you to find the right person, but you need to look for it. She won't come to you, you know, from heaven. You know, these ideas. You go to the mysticism, to the mystical area, and you lose the reality. God talks to us in this world. And we are walking in this world. There is no anybody here that can fly. Okay? Only Dumbo flies. Okay? But not us. Okay? Maybe your ears are going to grow very well, and then you're going to fly. But the truth of the matter is that we need to be in the reality of this world. This is a Shemitah and Yobel. And the Yobel is the freedom of freedoms. Because not any longer you depend on anybody, you depend on Him. How many of us, we are still hooked to our systems who are strangulating us? How many of us, we are more incapacitated because the fears of the world and the fears of life than to live? Do you know that Yeshua came to say to give us life and to give us life in abundance? Then what is abundance, life? And we're afraid of everything. Whew, I need to ask a lot of forgiveness to God. Blessed be his name. I have been a coward. I need to change. And you see, I am speaking to me. And I hope that speaking to me will get to you too. Because this is the idea. The idea is for all of us. Here there is no one that's better than the other. But all of us we have hope. Because God wants for us to have a full life. He wants to really have a full life. And life doesn't end until he takes you away. I mean, while there is life here on earth, there is hope. Because the other life is totally different. It's in his presence. But he wants for you to have a full life here. Many of us, and sometimes I have gone through that myself, I have said in my own mind, you know, it would be good if I got away now. Why? Because life is too hard. I am tired to fight. I am tired to struggle. You know? Escapism is a very easy and wonderful idea. Why do you think there are so many people that commit suicide? Because supposedly they want to terminate this miserable life. Why is a miserable life? The only way that you can have a miserable life is you making yourself miserable. You know, I have read life of people that they were in the Shoah, who couldn't be more miserable than to be there. And they even had certain time of joy in the worst situation that they could have. And they were trying to survive for life. And they never ever get up angry. And I know some that survive, and they are totally the opposite. What made the difference? The relationship. In my career as a counselor, I have seen situations, the two ways, the two extremes. Some that there is nothing that you can do, and some that you didn't do anything and everything happened in the great way. Because I don't want to give credit to myself, but it happens. It's joyful to see when people take the opportunities in spite of themselves and they make it work. How many of us we have ended living? How many of us we have given up already? How many of us we don't see that there is a beautiful future? You see, I told you last week that I believe with all my sense that we are in the times of Yom Teruah, who are the final trumpet. And the Yom Teruah is the idea also of the Yom Kippurim that is going to come also the Yovel. And what it means, the Yovel means our Messiah is coming. You know, according to the Jewish tradition, by the way, the 1,000 years was not invented by Christianity. Okay, sorry to tell you, but that is a very Jewish understanding. We have 6,000 years, and then the 7,000 years is the Messianic kingdom. You know, 1,000 means wholeness, of eternity, of fullness. You know, and this 7,000 is coming. It's interesting that now our sages are recalculating their calendar. Some of them say that they have lost 200 years, and others say that they have lost 400 years. If you read about, go to Google, they say that Google has the answer for everything. Go to Google and you're going to find how many different Jewish calendars exist today. No? They asked me the calculation, when do we need to calculate the Shemitah? And how do we need to calculate when the time of Jovel right now it is? Do you know there's still 2 Jews, 3 opinions? You will see how many different opinions are. Some of them they say that you need to calculate the Jovel from the beginning of the creation. That means 5774 divided by 50. You know? Others say, no, you need to start when they come into the promised land. And when they come into the promised land, supposedly was in the 14th of 6 before the common era. You know, then you divide by 7 or you divide by 50, you have your timing. And I can give you all the numbers. The truth of the matter is that nobody agreed about any number. Each one has their own numbers. But one thing we know, God is going to keep His word, in spite of ourselves. And one thing we know, that we are faithful to Him. We harvest when we put it away. We reap what we sow. The next week in Bekotai, we are going to see about the blessings and the curses. And you're going to see that there is a payment, there is a cost for disobeying God. And you're going to see that Israel today, my people, my beloved people, because I love the Jewish people, because it's my people, my own mishpocha. I cannot deny where I am and where I come from. But one thing is, we are suffering because our own keshech orech, stiff neck. We are suffering because we have become smarter than God sometimes. Because we have put ourselves in a pedestal, but we don't need to be in a pedestal, we need to be humble ourselves. Because we have come to serve, not to be served. That's how God brought us together. We are a small community, but I honestly believe that we have the power to change. Not by convincing people. I have some people in my community that I call it the Billy Grahams of this community. You know? They love to convince people by talking. You won't convince anybody by talking. But people are going to change by your behavior, by your way of living, by the way that you are. That's how you impress and you change people. Words are easy. I have to say, and I can assure you, that I try every day to live upon it. What you see is what you get. I have never tried to put myself in a pedestal. I have never said, I don't do that. What I say is, if I have done it, I need to be responsible for what I have done. If I have hurt anybody, I need to be responsible for my hurt to others. If I have done anything, I need to acknowledge, not to justify, not to run away from my responsibilities, but I am responsible. That's where God gives us the freedom. Because once you are free to be yourself, there is nothing that can hold you back. You see, and the areas that we struggle are the areas that we need more help than any other one. The beginning of healing to all of us is when we acknowledge that we have a problem. Meanwhile, you do not acknowledge that you have a problem, there is no way of cure. I learned it with my, what I call it, gallbladder. In the hard way, I almost died. You know, I have a problem. With my diabetes, took me 2 years to accept that I have it. I was totally hardened. I couldn't be, the doctor has committed a mistake, there's no right, no. Finally, the situation came to me across. My doctor said, you know, everybody who is diagnosed with diabetes, they go through the same problem, denial. Are we in denial or we are in reality? Because my question to you is this. The Shemitah and the Yovel is the idea of the new beginning. It's renewal. That's what our Messiah Yeshua talks about being born again. We have the opportunity to live again, free from the things of our environment that want to hold us at back. We do not need to depend on others. We need to depend on Him. And this is a very difficult thing because it's totally trust in Him. Are you ready to trust Him? Are we ready to walk in the walk? The paradox is that you work and God gives the results. God will take care of you, but you need to take care of yourself. There's no paradox. God is going to take care of you, but you need to take care of yourself. People say, how is that? Have you heard the word responsibility? Have you heard the word work? Have you heard the word put your intentions to do what is right? That's the way God is talking about. Shabbat shalom.